those portions of 26 and 28 that were not included as the reduced visitation or the increased visitation frequency in the motion that Commissioner Macbeth just made, and those would be part of the 96-hour trap check time.
So,
because we haven't recognized those as for visitation frequency.
so
I guess in other words, everything outside of the yellow outline
Right.
reverts back to 96 per this motion.
Right.
Correct.
Or remains at 96. We're just acknowledging that it remains at 96.
I thought we were going to do 96 after we were done.
We are
finding
done.
the area.
We are done.
We have been.
Did we pass
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
motion?
Yeah, your motion passed.
Oh,
Recount.
That's helpful if I know.
Recount.
So the restricted firearm area has passed.
Yes, 48
with
hours.
2 calendar days.
Right.
And you've
Now
only
it's-
been at this for a day, Mike. The rest of it,
We only went through one round of
Plus 6
public
years.
input. We usually go through
Okay, so
4 or
now
5.
we're just reverting everything else to 96 hours.
Recognizing that it's going to stay at 96 is.
Okay, I'm good with that. Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Okay, I have one more question. Your concern was with this area right here?
it's not even the whole line coming up, it's just at the top of the bulb. That's where the houses occur, and there's a campground up there, and there's an unloading area for quads and equestrian people. And I think it needs to be afforded the same type of setbacks we have over in Kyle and Lake Canyon. But we're not talking about that right now, so that's my reason for not supporting the motion, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, you cannot support it and hope we get some clarification there. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
So it's Lane, McNich, and Rob opposed. And Moore, aye. That is 4-4.
So I make a motion, I vote against it, and it fails.
That's where we're at.
And it doesn't go through, and nothing happens to it.
That's the
All
box
right,
score.
all right. Okay, so,
Yeah, can I?
Commissioner
I guess
Macbeth.
I'm a little, okay, so the area that is 2 calendar days is the firearm zone. That motion passed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, what are the alternatives for the areas of concern that are outside of the firearm zone? What else would it be other than 96? And I understand.
But the way the original motion that included the 96 said the area is, well, I see your question. Once you start talking through it.
right now, they are 96. The problem is that we haven't recognized it, having gone through the consideration process to keep it that way. And I think that that's what this whole thing has been about, is recognizing if we're going to keep it at 96, and it's a recognition that the areas that we've considered, close proximity to heavily populated and heavily used areas, and theoretically that the commission's made the determination that none of those things are at play or in play, and therefore it should remain at 96. And that's really what it would be saying if we left it at 96.
So even with the failed motion, if we walked away right now, that's the default.
Yes.
Well, but I don't know. No, we haven't. The consideration hasn't been recognized, acknowledged, I guess. Is that the way to look at it? You know, we haven't said why we're leaving it at 96. And I think by our actions that we're largely saying why we're changing things or why we're leaving them the same. We've made some statement either by our actions, or if we left it the same in those other areas, we're basically saying that there was no that we'd considered close proximity to heavily used and populated areas, and that it wasn't a factor, and it wasn't significant enough to make changes to the 96-hour visitation frequency.
But by default, somebody could make the case that we considered making it 48 and didn't consider making, or 2 calendar days.
So it just seems like a stone unturned to me at this point in time. Maybe it's not, maybe Newton, Dag Newton could chip in, but that's just what I feel like is happening.
Commissioner Macbeth?
Would it, would it be more comfortable if we couched it, and this would probably be a question for our Dag, if we couched it in terms of reverting everything back to 96 hours, with the exception of the residential area at Coal Creek, with the direction to the department to come back with an amendment to the regulation, the SB 226 regulation, to add that to the no trapping zone? Because I'll be honest, I don't think the residents of Coal Creek want, trapping in there at all, and that they're not going to get the relief they want with a 2 calendar day trap area. They're not going to be happy with that any more than they will be with 96.
And I agree with you. My reason for not supporting the motion was in protection of Coal Creek, but I know I can't get there. But I wanted to make a point that I wasn't supporting the motion because of the Coal Creek area.
Okay, but can we rectify that by having a direction, to add it to, for the department to come back at a future, in August, to basically add it to the 226 area? I'm a little concerned that's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
And,
Can we talk about that, Mr. Newton?
Sure, what would you like to talk about? Yeah, you could do what Commissioner Macbeth has outlined. The only concern, as Director Wasley just pointed out, is whether or not we could get that draft language in front of LCB fast enough regarding the Cold Creek area so that it wouldn't be a temporary regulation. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it's temporary regulation. You just have to come back a year from now and fix it.
Even if it's temporary regulation, it's more than what they have right now, and it's a move in the right direction.
Correct. Well, as far as moving in the right direction, that's up to you guys, so I didn't mean my correct
It's a
on
move in
that
my
part.
right direction.
Right. That's a policy decision.
Okay, so Mr. Macbeth, do you have a,
I would move that all of the areas in pink outside of the illegal firearms discharge area in Clark County revert back to 96 hours with direction to the Department of Wildlife to come forth at a future commission meeting to add the Coal Creek residential area into the SB 226 no trapping zones.
I'll second it, and with clarification that is to include the residents, parking zones, and campgrounds in that area.
I'll accept that. Yes, because I've both ridden horses and ATVs in that area, and I know what you're talking about. There's a
Okay.
little concrete in a pond and some stuff like that that's in
All
there.
right. Is that clear to you, Suzanne? Okay. Any further discussion?
Still gonna be wrong.
Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Yay.
Lane's opposed.
Could I ask why now you're making me second guess?
Because they're still going for 96 hours. It's 96 hours. Okay, it's 96 hours.
Yeah, no traffic.
Well, it
zone
was,
within a half
okay,
mile
we were
of
talking
radius.
about direction to do setbacks. So I felt like it was a gain from one way. All right, okay.
It's
It-
still
It's
96
protecting
hours.
it, it's needed.
Yes,
It's not much.
Okay, are we done with maps? Anybody else have anything on maps? Seeing none, the only thing,
were you ready to move to the next agenda? Can I just make
no,
one?
no, we're gonna move to educational.
Yes, sir.
Education.
So I might be able to make this easy. I would move that the commission provide direction to staff to begin developing a educational program for both trapper education and public education on trapping.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Drew, second by Commissioner Morey. Any further discussion? Commissioner Macbeth?
Is that going to be a requirement to get a trapping license?
I think we need, the reason I'm leaving this a little bit open-ended, what we did with the committee is we asked the department to come to this meeting and make a kind of a presentation on the various options for how we could proceed with that. And so I guess in my mind, I'd like to see what the options and kind of permutations would be as part of that dialogue, you know, and its direction to staff, but it's really going to be a collaborative effort.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Commissioner, or Secretary Wosley?
Is that something that the entire commission would hope to be presented with, or is that something that the trapping committee?
I think the committee recommendation was to have it come to the entire commission as kind of a presentation on here are the options, and then the commission could take a little bit more definitive direction at that point on providing better direction.
And my thought process is, this meeting is summing up everything the trapping committee did, and I don't want to be on the trapping committee more. A future chairman of the commission is going to have to appoint somebody to the trapping committee, but I don't know if there's going to be any meetings going forward, because if you just bring this back to the commission, I don't think there'd be a trapping committee meeting. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed unanimous.
If you're prepared to, are we done now?
Yes.
Okay. So before we move forward, I just want to make one more quick comment here. It's been a long, rough, hard road, and I know that a lot of things that have happened in here, I mean, you know, I don't think anybody could have predicted it necessarily, but I do want to say to the trappers, you know, large and to the folks that are that have concerns with trapping. We had a few bumps in the road, but I do want you all to know that I really appreciate, number one, the time that you've spent on this. I know you're passionate for whatever reasons you have. And number two, with the few bumps here and there, our meetings were long. I know that there were frustrations, but I do appreciate how you guys presented yourselves on all sides of the issues. You guys were, everybody was largely, for the most part, respectful. Well, again, we had a couple bumps here and there, but considering the emotion involved and the complexity and the variables and everybody's own thought processes, I just want to express my appreciation to everybody that was involved with those to this point, and that you know, we made through it. I guess everybody's got a few bumps and bruises, but anyway, I just wanted to express my appreciation for that.
Did you have something to add, Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, just quickly. I think what we found here today was that it boiled down to what on the decisions that we made, what each commissioner personally felt about these issues in listening to the comments and what we thought that was right. And I appreciate the way that the committee presented this, because it was clear to me that you guys wanted everybody to openly make the decision and not worry about supporting what the committee came forth with. And I guess we'll see if we did the right thing, but we got through it, and I appreciate the time that you guys spent on it, still with an open mind that when we get to the commission level, it may be a free-for-all.
And I really don't see the free-for-all being over. We know how the votes stacked out today. There's going to be 2 new commissioners that are going to be hammered by both sides of this issue. There's no doubt. So I think this one's far from over. I wouldn't want to be the new commissioner and his phone bill for the next month.
Where are they going to get broke in hard?
I shouldn't say that. They might duck out of being wanting to be a commissioner, but I see that the way this one's going down. With that being said, we'll move on to agenda item number 25, future commission meetings and committee assignments. I have no committee assignments because I'm leaving, and so we'll leave it to the next chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I've taken a couple notes through the last couple days for future meeting items. The August meeting, the next meeting is in August, mid-August. I don't know if it's the 14th, 15th, or 15th, 16th, sometime in there. It's going to be in Fallon. We might have an opportunity to get the commissioners out on a bird banding venture with Chris Nicolai with some of the wood duck projects that the commission's been responsible for funding in the past. So we'll certainly keep you guys apprised of any opportunities there. I think one of the first orders of business is probably the election of a new chairman and vice chairman there. We'll make sure the agenda reflects that. The primary issue in the August meeting is to set and revise waterfowl seasons and limits. We'll also revisit the NACO wild horse lawsuit. I suspect we will have the language on visitation, the issues that were just discussed, taking the direction from the commission and bring that to all the county advisory boards and back to the full commission for approval. Also a crossbow reg, the Lyon County controlled goose hunt, as that's was it a controlled goose hunt? Is that correct?
Yeah, the controlled goose hunt zone.
Okay, and that's consistent with the setting and revising the waterfowl seasons and limits. There's one other item that we'd like the commission to consider engaging in a discussion. It might be a committee assignment. There is an elk damage and incentive committee. Staff has expressed some concern over the elk arbitration panel process. We're having a lot of turnover in those arbitration panels, and as one panel member said, is the department's putting us in a very difficult situation. They're asking us to either call landowners liars or the department liars, and as such, there's a lot of turnover, and I think it would be good to at least engage in some discussion as to possible solutions to the high turnover and the difficult position that we're putting some of those panel members in. So I don't know if that would be an assignment to the Elk Damage and Incentive Committee, or if it would be best brought before the full commission to discuss some possible directions prior to that. And that's all I have.
Commissioner Drew?
I guess the one item I had, and it would echo what Director Wasley said, is I would really like to try and get out and see that wood duck project. It's something that we've all dealt with for several years now, and I'm thinking, and maybe looking at some of the other commissioners, the best time to do that is going to be Friday evening. Is that something that works for everyone, Karen? I know you're traveling ways. So I guess Friday evening maybe is what we should shoot for. And then Director Wasley, you'd mentioned in your update, and I don't know, you had a lot of stuff there, but we had talked, you mentioned briefly about Fish and Wildlife Service and their decision to potentially pull out of the Region 8 flyway. Is that something that this commission should at least be aware of in a little more depth and potentially take action on some sort of comment?
Yeah, I think that would be very appropriate.
Especially given our topic for August.
Right, because at that time, the Pacific Flyway meetings will be, actually all the Flyway meetings will be at least scheduled. They may occur right after that meeting, but it is a significant concern with all the states in the Pacific Flyway, the involvement of the regional, regional headquarters, regional office, and that decision. So.
And is that something Ted could be there to address, or is that?
No, it's out of the Migratory Bird Office out of Sacramento, and it's my understanding that it's due to a backlog on permitting of energy facilities and other species, primarily eagles, taking precedence over waterfowl.
Okay.
We can get an update for sure.
I'm not going to be on the commission, but after my field trip out on Lake Mead last week, I would highly recommend that the commission in the future look at the Lake Mead hatchery, our fleet of boats that we do have down on Lake Mead, and we look good down there. We're professional down there. It's impressive what we have down there for our law enforcement. And get out on the water. You don't see it from the boat ramp, but you have to get out on the water and go around and look towards the dam and see the impact that the quagga mussel's having, and look at the decontamination station. There's just so many issues right there right now that I think it's time. We won't be so wound up on trapping and bears hopefully for a while, and we can start getting into some wildlife related issues that are impacting the state of Nevada. And right there's the epicenter right now. So I would suggest highly that you take half a day and go do that. Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 26. Public comment. Any public comment? Mr. Burnside.
Thank you. I'm not necessarily representing Douglas Cab right now. I had forgotten about this until I talked to Monty earlier. I took advantage of the opportunity to go down and observe the draw this year, and even though I was really disappointed that Monty wasn't able to get me an antelope tag, he gave a very formative PowerPoint presentation. I learned a lot. It was a fun experience. And Monty, remind Don he still owes me an email telling me what all those variables in the equation are.
Joel?
Well, I told you two guys the other day that I'd say thanks for being around just in case you were mad at me by the end, but I hope you're not. I appreciate what you did. And I want to say to Rich, same thing. He's about the only guy that remembers when Moldy and I were young guys. I intend to be the last one standing. Thanks.
Thank you. Kathy?
Kathy Smith, Reno, Nevada. I just hope, there was an article in today's, on the news today, I'm not sure if it was in the paper or not, I just got an email to me discussing that the BLM has approved hydraulic fracking in Elko, and I think this would be a very, very prudent for the commission to discuss this at some point in the future. I think definitely it's going to be going through sage-grouse habitat, and if you're talking about horses, nothing compared to this if there's an accident, which happens all over, and if the company's got a business. I guess it's noble energy, so it's pretty big, but it's definitely an issue and not something that I think should be ignored by the commission if you really want to look at the big picture of wildlife. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Thank you.